story, and we're trying to make it. Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is one of those rare names that doesn't just belong to an actor but seems to float through popular culture like a quiet prayer. Passed from one generation to the next, spoken softly rather than shouted, carried not by hype but by trust. And for nearly 5 decades he has moved through Hollywood as though it were foreign soil, never fully claiming it, never allowing it to claim him. A man whose fame grew enormous while his footprint remained strangely light, whose face became iconic, while his ego never followed, whose roles shaped entire eras of cinema while his personal life unfolded in near silence. And yet the paradox of Keanu Reeves is that the gentleness people admire so deeply was not born from ease or privilege or luck, but from a life marked early and repeatedly by loss so severe that it would have hardened most people beyond recognition. Long before The Matrix transformed him into a philosopher warrior and cultural symbol, earning more than $1. 5 billion worldwide and reshaping the language of action films, long before John Wick turned grief-fueled rage into a minimalist form of cinematic poetry and added hundreds of millions more to his box office legacy. Long before his personal fortune reached an estimated $380 million and his image became shorthand for decency in an industry often accused of lacking it, Keanu Reeves was simply a boy learning, very early, that the people you love can disappear without warning and that the world does not pause to explain why. He was born on September 2, 1964, in Beirut, Lebanon, a city already balanced on the edge of political instability, to parents whose own lives carried fractures that would soon define his childhood. His name, Keanu Charles Reeves, meaning cool breeze over the mountains in Hawaiian, a poetic inheritance from his father's side that contrasted sharply with the emotional heat and turbulence that would follow. His father, Samuel Nowlin Reeves Jr., a geologist of Chinese-Hawaiian descent, was a man whose talents did not extend to stability, whose presence in his son's life was brief and whose absence would become permanent when Keanu was only 3 years old, vanishing not gradually or with explanation but abruptly, leaving behind a wife, a child, and eventually a criminal record tied to drug trafficking, including a conviction for selling heroin at Honolulu International Airport, a reality that Keanu would later acknowledge without bitterness but also without romanticizing, seeing his father only once more at the age of 13 in a meeting so empty and disorienting it felt less like reunion and more like encountering a stranger wearing a familiar face, and then never again, the absence solidifying into something that could not be repaired or resolved, only lived with. His mother, Patricia Taylor, an English showgirl and costume designer, did what she could, raising Keanu and his sister largely alone while chasing work that kept food on the table but required constant movement, dragging the family across continents and cities, Sydney, New York, Toronto, until home became less a place than a temporary arrangement, a suitcase always half-packed, a lesson in impermanence reinforced by multiple marriages and divorces that taught Keanu early that adults leave, that structures collapse, and that nothing, no matter how solid it feels in the moment, is guaranteed to last. He was raised often by grandparents and nannies, the quiet caretakers who filled the gaps left by instability, who provided routine where they could, who showed affection without fanfare, and who helped shape a boy who learned to be observant, inward, and self-reliant, a child who struggled academically due to dyslexia, attending 4 different high schools in 5 years, never staying long enough to feel rooted, expelled from one art school for being too outspoken, too restless, too unwilling to fit neatly into systems that didn't account for his way of thinking. Yet amid that instability, he found refuge in hockey, playing goalie, a position that felt instinctively right, standing between chaos and consequence, absorbing impact after impact so others didn't have to, earning the nickname The Wall, dreaming briefly of a professional career, and then, just as quietly, finding theater, discovering on stage a strange kind of freedom, the ability to step into other lives and leave his own behind for a few hours, realizing that acting wasn't about attention or applause, but about escape, about survival, about learning how to exist in a world that had never felt particularly safe. At 17, he dropped out of school and moved to Los Angeles with little more than determination and hunger, working odd jobs, sleeping on couches, auditioning endlessly, facing rejection after rejection, each one a small erosion of hope, commercials no one remembers, roles that barely paid rent, living in apartments so thin-walled he could hear other people's lives moving forward while his felt suspended, waiting, wondering if he had made a catastrophic mistake, if he should return to Toronto with his dreams folded neatly away. His first film paycheck, $3,000 for Youngblood, playing a hockey goalie, felt less like a breakthrough and more like a reminder of what he knew how to do: stand in place and take hits. Then, in 1986, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure arrived, a goofy, time-traveling comedy that should have faded into obscurity but didn't, largely because Keanu played Ted Theodore Logan with a sincerity so pure it disarmed cynicism, making audiences laugh not at him but with him, the film earning $40 million and quietly changing the trajectory of his life, opening doors to more serious roles like Point Break and then Speed in 1994, which grossed over $350 million worldwide and cemented him as an action star, a moment he later described with disbelief and gratitude, realizing that his life had fundamentally shifted, even as the cost of that success began to weigh on him physically and emotionally. And then there was River Phoenix. They met in 1989, two young men allergic to Hollywood's superficiality, bonded by motorcycles, books, and a shared discomfort with fame, forming a friendship that felt like family, one rooted in mutual understanding and creative respect. And when River's agent initially refused to let him read the script for My Own Private Idaho, Keanu rode his motorcycle more than 1,000 miles to River's ranch, script in hand, saying simply, "I'm doing it if you're doing it." A gesture that speaks volumes. About loyalty, about showing up, about choosing connection over convenience. They filmed in 1991, talked about future projects, joked about Shakespeare, and then on October 31st, 1993, River Phoenix collapsed outside the Viper Room, overdosing on a lethal combination of drugs, dying on the sidewalk at just 23 years old, while Keanu was filming Speed, receiving the news like a blow that knocked the air out of his lungs, entering a depression so deep it felt like drowning without water, questioning the point of everything. Fame, money, applause, when someone you love can simply stop existing. A grief he carried quietly, refusing to turn it into spectacle, later saying he hated speaking of River in the past tense, keeping him alive in memory because that was all that remained. But life, relentless and unsentimental, was not finished testing him. His sister Kim had been diagnosed with leukemia in 1991, and for a decade Keanu put much of his life on hold to be there for her, becoming her primary caregiver, selling his home to move closer, spending millions on treatments, cooking, cleaning, sitting through hospital nights, holding her hand through pain most people never witness. And when the Matrix made him obscenely wealthy, he quietly donated more than $30 million to leukemia research, setting up a private foundation without his name attached, because for him generosity was not a branding opportunity but a moral obligation. Kim eventually went into remission, surviving, teaching Keanu that sometimes love does save people, a lesson that made what came next all the more devastating. In 1999, as The Matrix exploded into a cultural phenomenon, redefining action cinema and earning Keanu over $120 million, he was also building a life with Jennifer Syme, a woman whose humor and vulnerability resonated with him, and when she became pregnant, they prepared eagerly, naming their daughter Ava Archer Syme Reeves, setting up a nursery, imagining a future that felt, for once, hopeful. On Christmas Eve, Jennifer went into labor, and Ava was stillborn, never drawing breath. A loss so profound it defies language, grief without memories, mourning a life that existed only in imagination, a future erased before it could begin. And though Keanu and Jennifer tried to stay together, tried to hold each other through the darkness, sorrow became a third presence, suffocating, unavoidable, and they separated not from lack of love but from the unbearable weight of shared pain. 18 months later, in April 2001, Jennifer died in a car accident after leaving a party, partially ejected from her vehicle, cocaine found in her system, her death instantaneous, her body laid to rest beside Ava, mother and child reunited in death when life had denied them the chance, and Keanu, who had shared breakfast with her the day before, served as a pallbearer, carrying grief so layered it bordered on the unbearable. Acting, he later admitted, became necessity rather than escape, the only structure keeping him from collapsing entirely. And it is in this context that his later words carry such weight, when he speaks of grief not as something that ends but as something that changes shape, something you learn to live alongside, transforming pain into memory rather than letting it destroy you. When asked what happens after death, his simple answer, "I know that the ones who love us will miss us," was not philosophy but lived truth, spoken by someone who has been missed and who has missed deeply. With Alexandra Grant, whom he had known for years before they became public in 2019, he found not fairy tale romance but companionship rooted in mutual respect, shared creativity, and emotional maturity, two whole people choosing to walk together rather than complete each other. Their relationship marked by quiet presence rather than performance, a love that understands scars without trying to erase them. Today, at 60, Keanu Reeves stands as something increasingly rare. A global superstar who has not allowed success to calcify his humanity. A wealthy man who lives modestly, rides the subway, gives up his seat, buys meals for strangers, hands out bonuses to crew members, gifts motorcycles to stunt teams, listens more than he speaks, and measures his life not by accumulation but by impact. John Wick may have turned him into a modern myth, but it is his off-screen choices that have made him a symbol of kindness, proof that gentleness is not weakness but a form of strength forged in suffering, that surviving is sometimes the bravest act of all, and that even after abandonment, loss, and heartbreak, it is still possible to wake up each morning and say, with quiet gratitude, "I'm happy to be here," offering the rest of us a reminder that compassion is not naive, that love is worth the grief it brings, and that in a world often defined by cruelty, choosing kindness is the most radical act there is.